Okay, so today we've got a pretty cool car here that we're doing a Mark 3 RS steering wheel upgrade on. This is going to be the how-to install video. So even though this is a sedan, it is actually XR5 swapped. So the whole, basically, body loom has been swapped so that it can have a 5-cylinder in it. So it is a sedan, started out as a base model, and it's had a bunch of goodies fitted from either a Mark 2 RS or an XR5. Now, other than all this work that's been completed, this was actually the first XR5 or Mark 2 Focus in Australia that was all-wheel drive converted. So it's sedan, XR5 and all-wheel drive. And slowly over the next maybe 6 months, this is going to be transitioned into a track car. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming for this car, but today it's just the steering wheel. Okay, first thing you want to do, pop the bonnet, disconnect the battery. Because we're working with airbags, you want to have all the power to the car cut. So now that we're in the interior, the first thing we're going to want to do is pop off this plastic piece. So the easiest way to get it off is to turn the wheel 90 degrees. I'll turn it this way so you can see. Now there is a little blanking hole. You can put a screwdriver in that to unleash the plastic clip. Because this one has been done a couple, number of times, it's loose enough that I can just pull it straight out. This top piece, pull up and towards you, and it comes undone. Next step is to get the airbag out. Now, if you had the steering wheel turned 90 degrees already, keep it there. That's good to go. If you haven't, turn it. So basically, to remove the airbag, what you're actually doing by pushing this in, the holes in the steering wheel, is you're pushing the screwdriver under this wire, and when you twist the screwdriver, it essentially pushes the wire down, which unhooks that edge. So you've got this edge, and this edge. Once you do it on all 3 sides, the airbag will come out. So it's not too hard. It's just a lot of playing around and often quite difficult to get the screwdriver just in the right spot, but you will get it with enough patience. Now I'm going to remove the airbag, but like the visual demonstration just showed, follow that and I'll come back when it's out. Okay, so I was having a bit of trouble with that one, so I'm going to move to the bottom one and then try it again. There's really only 2 things that we need to pull off, which is the horn and the airbag. So the horn can just be pulled off, and the airbag has 2 little retaining clips. They need to be pushed at the same time, and then it will undo, just like that. What I've got here is a 24, an extension, and a ratchet. So that's to undo the actual steering wheel bolt. So I'm going to use my legs to hold the steering wheel. And undo the bolt. Okay, so I've got that out. All right, the next thing you want to do is unplug the clock spring connector. What I've got here is a small pick, so I can get the release tab on the connector, and I'll show you that once it's out. Now I can pull the wheel off, making sure the airbag cable feeds through, and your old wheel is off. And now we're ready to go over, swap everything we need to on the bench into the Mark 3 RS steering wheel. So right here I've got Mark 3 wheel and airbag, and the Mark 2 wheel and airbag, plus the wiring that comes in the kit. So the first thing we're going to need to do is swap over this little plastic piece in the airbags. The keyway is different between both the Mark 2 and the Mark 3, so we need to swap them over. I'm using a little pick. Okay, now that's come straight out. Sit that here. Same thing with the Mark 3. A little pick, you'll be able to get it out. Okay, now nice and simple. The Mark 2 one goes straight in, and that airbag is ready to go. Okay, so cool. Basically now with the Mark 2 airbag and this clip, we can put them aside. We do not need them anymore. Now what we're going to do is work on the Mark 2 steering wheel. Really all we need out of this is this cable that goes to this connector. So what we're going to do, flip it over. What I've got here is a T20. We're going to undo this. This hook here, I'm going to grab it and just feed the wire underneath. It flexes it just enough that you can get the wire out. Grab your pick, press the connector and feed it out. Once this piece is out, we do not need this steering wheel anymore. Okay, so now we've moved on to the Mark III wheel. Now, some steering wheels may come with some wiring, some may not. If it does, we won't need any of that wiring. So to remove that, I'll use my new harness to give you a visual demonstration. The connectors have a release. That is actually underneath. So you need to get the pick underneath to press that, to then pull it out and release it. Now I'm going to do that for both now. I'm pulling the wiring out of its little hooks first and pulling it out. Now I'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so like I said, this wiring, not required, you do not need it. Now you've got the harness that I supply, and you've got this original harness off the steering wheel. Now, we're going to de-pin this and put these terminals into it. It's not that hard to do, it's actually very basic. Once again, grab your pick. This red piece comes out. Just be careful that it doesn't go flying. But I'm basically getting in on the edge of it there. Okay, it came out from the bottom that time. Now, flip it into the orientation you have to put it back in, which is this, with the 2 black wires on the right, the 3 empty holes on the left. Now I'm going to sit this down just so I don't forget the orientation. Now, what you're going to want to do, these are the correct terminals to go into here. We're going to start with green. It can only go in one way, so you can't mess it up. Green, I'm going to slide it in, and it clicks in, and it stops. I can't easily pull it out. Next is black. That slides in. That's also clicked in. And then your purple wire. Cool, that's all in there. Now, put the red retaining clip back in. And click it in. Now that's ready to go back into your steering wheel. So we're going to bring that over. The bigger black connector is for the left side, green for the right. What I'm first going to do is plug that in. There's no special tricks to it. It just clicks in and you'll hear a nice click. Okay, now I'm going to push this one in as well. And click. What you're going to want to do is push the wiring into these clips. I've got a flathead. It's not too sharp, so it's not going to damage it or anything. Now your wiring is in. It's basically ready to take back over to the car and reinstall. All right, now that we're back in the car, the wheel can go back in. It's much the same as removal. Basically, airbag cable needs to be fed through the hole. Line it up and push the wheel on. Now that that's in, that connector can be plugged back into the clock spring. So before we put the bolt back in, just like Ford do from the factory, I've got some blue thread locker. Now you don't need too much, Just put a bit on there. Okay, that one's all tight and we're ready to work on the airbag. Now with the Mark III airbag, we're going to install the wiring onto it. Super basic. This is your little harness here. There's 3 terminals that are this size, a larger size, and there's one that is a smaller size. The smaller one goes here. You can grab it and just push it straight on. This next one will naturally want to go straight here. If you can't get it on, grab some pliers to help push it on. That's the first one done. There's another one just to the left of it. And then there's one right down the bottom. So it's interesting, from factory, Ford only use one of these terminals for the horn, but because there is 3 available, that's why I'm using all 3. It just ensures that when you're pressing the horn, that no matter where you press it, it will get a signal. Right, now that our horn harness is on, you can get that and plug it into here. Grab your airbag cable, plug it into your airbag. Now getting to the point of putting the airbag back in the car, the main thing you want to make sure is that this white horn connector is actually put above the cock spring connector. That way it's not in the way when we're pushing the airbag back in. So now that it's pushed up out of the way, I can put the airbag back in, making sure there's no other cables that are going to interfere with these 2 locks. Insert and push, and that is basically in. Now we can work under the column. Right, now that the wheel's back in, the first thing we're going to do is remove the audio controls. Now there's a little retainer clip that you push in and it releases this. Same thing with this connector like usual, retainer clip, press it, the wire will pull out. Just like that. The next step is to take the plastic piece out below the column. So there's one T20 screw. Just like that. Now, what we're going to do is leave this unlocked so that we can basically pull this piece out easily. Now, if you pull from the top edge and the same on the other side, you can unclip it so it can come down. Okay, now that piece is out, let's go over to the bench again. This is your blanking piece. It's quite flexible and malleable, so you don't have to be too careful with it. Basically, it pushes into this hole and blanks the hole. So you've just got to work it, start on one edge, use your fingers to push it in. And just work your way around. And just like that, that one's in and ready to be set aside to go back in the car. So for the next step, we're basically plugging in the cock spring wiring. Now you will need access to your boost gauge wiring. Now there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can either lift this whole panel up and pull it out if you want to, or you'll be able to have access to the plug. These are very, very common to break here in Australia, maybe the UK not as much. Or you can also pull your head unit out and get access to the plug through here. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to remove the head unit and come back after that. As you can see, we got a little carried away. We took the head unit out so that we could get the air vents out nice and easily. To get to the plug for the boost gauge, Really, this needs to be lifted up and out. But to not break that, as I mentioned, we've then pulled the cluster out so that we could individually, from underneath, get to each of these clips and one by one, slowly start to push them up and out. Because the vents were out, we were able to put our hand up here and push this side up as well at the same time. Obviously, if yours is already broken, you may not care and you'll just lift it out, but it will break very easily, like I said. Here is the actual boost gauge that's been sat upside down. These two clips were broken, so we've epoxied them back together for now. But what you're going to need access to is this plug. It's the same as any other connector we've been working on today. There's a release tang, and then you pull it. So here I've got the last section of harness that we need. This is for the boost gauge. I'm going to feed it up from the column up to boost gauge wiring here. So I'll feed it up. Plug it into the boost gauge wiring. And then you can reinstall your boost gauge as per normal with this plug. Put everything here back in. Top plastic piece can go back in, cluster can go back in. We're just working under the column here now. Okay, now that the boost gauge side is plugged in, really what we're working with is the original connector for the audio controls and the clock spring. So this one here can be connected straight to this plug. Plug it in. That's done. Okay, now the clock spring connector. You will need a pick, get that out. It's the same as any of the other ones we've been working on. You unpress, put the pick in, and that connector comes out. Once again, nice and simple. Basically, plug it in, and once again, plug it back in to clock spring. Basically, that's it. It's done. Test it, make sure it works. The audio steering wheel controls will need to be resynced to your head unit. Like it says in the product description, if you have a stock head unit, the buttons don't work properly. So to make it work properly, you need an aftermarket head unit that has a learning feature. So we'll go through that, get that working. Other than that, put everything back together how it came out, and you're good to go.